We're joined now by our guest, Andrew Gutmann. He is a Republican candidate for Congress from Florida's 22nd District here in Palm Beach County. I'm actually in West Palm right now. He's the co-host of the podcast Take Back Our Schools, and he's got a piece that got our attention in the New York Post. Private K through 12 programs ditch classics for race-obsessed classes and woke activism. Thanks for being with us, Andrew. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
If you would, just please tell us a little bit of your story, how you got to this point. You were a New Yorker. I mean, just full disclosure, my prom date when I was in New York City high school was a Brearley girl. You had a daughter at Brearley. Things got crazy there with the wokeness. Take us through this a little bit.
Yeah, it was completely unexpected. So my daughter had been at Brearley for 7 years, doing very well academically and socially. And for people that don't know, Brearley is considered one of the top K through 12 schools in the country, all-girls school on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. And then after the summer of 2020, George Floyd, BLM, everything about the school changed. Brearley became what they called an anti-racist school. It was a mission change. And what that really meant is that they abandoned academic excellence, they abandoned free speech in the classroom, and they adopted what is a political education in and indoctrinating progressive activists. And we tried to get other parents to speak up that whole school year, failed. Nobody would speak up. Everyone was too scared to do so. And when we decided after 7 years of her being there not to re-enroll her for the next year, I said, you know what, someone's got to do something. Someone's got to try to light a fire here. I wasn't professionally cancelable. And so I wrote a letter and I mailed it to every family of Brearley, never expecting it to be read by any other than the 656 families that I sent it to. And it wound up being read by millions. It went viral. Tucker Carlson read it on TV. I was on the cover of the New York Post, all over Fox News. And it helped ignite, this is back in the spring of 2021, it helped ignite what became the parents' movement and the fight against woke education.
I love that you did this. I spoke at my school board meeting and about masks. I remember this story with Brearley. Am I correct? Megyn Kelly had a daughter that was going there too and helped to publicize this?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe so. What made you finally say, I'm willing to potentially take the social hit and be willing to speak out? Because I bet what you found was most parents actually agreed with you privately, but a lot of them were not willing to say what you did publicly.
Yeah, so I should say on masks, we were fighting with them on COVID restrictions as well. We actually left New York City because we were getting fined $500 every time our building saw us not wear masks in an empty lobby. So we were fighting that battle too. But, they really tried to get us to sign a pledge before the first day of school that school year. Not only would we support their anti-racism initiatives in the school, we would help support them in the home. We said no. They didn't want to let our daughter in the first day of school. So they were trying to indoctrinate not just the kids, but the entire community. And I'll tell you the story of when, I knew this was just unsavable. It was my daughter at dinner one night says, guess what we learned in school today? We learned you never hold the door open for someone disabled because it's a microaggression. And it wasn't even the race stuff or the gender stuff. And you're thinking to yourself, this is really what this great school, this formerly great school, is teaching our kids. This is the society they want us to live in, that you don't hold the door open for someone disabled. And I said, you know what? I mean, we've got to fight these issues. We've got to fight back. I knew at that point, and I, confident saying it now, that exactly what you said, more than half of the families were very upset with what was going on with the mission change. And I think half of the Board of Trustees was very upset and not on board. And yet nobody else would speak up. And I said, look, somebody has to. So I just wrote this letter, never expecting it to, go viral, and just was trying to light a little fire up really, trying to give the other parents, the courage to speak up. And I said, I'll take the hit for this. But again, it wound up helping to ignite this whole national movement.
And we're speaking to Andrew Gutmann. He's running for Congress in the 22nd District here in Palm Beach County. And I'm wondering, to what degree did you have other parents who wanted to help you but felt nervous about it versus parents who actually believe they're just crazy woke nonsense? I mean, Brearley is academically considered excellent, but it's always been considered kind of progressive. So I can't even imagine what it's like now.
Oh, it's terrible now, and that's the piece I just wrote for the New York Post. But look, I think again, more than half of the families, who still, in theory at least, wanted a real education for their kids, and there's probably somewhat less than half of the families that believe in this woke nonsense. The school had been indoctrinating the whole community for years. I didn't really understand that when I wrote the letter. My wife had been on the Parent Association. They had offered her about 2 years prior to 2020 2 full days of anti-racist training. Now, it was optional then. It became mandatory because we actually had to do 2 mandatory anti-racism sessions that every parent had to do. But they had been indoctrinating the community for a while. But you know what? I mean, parents, again, afraid to speak up, afraid to get canceled, afraid for their kids to get kicked out. They are addicted to the status of these fancy, elite private schools. They're addicted to their kids getting into the Harvard, Princeton, Yales of the world. And so we just can't get parents to speak up.
Yeah, those places are overrated, as you and I know, Andrew. But more and more parents need to figure that out. My wife went to University of Florida. She loved it, had a great experience, a fantastic school. There's so many great options that aren't these sort of the Ivies and equivalents these days. But I want to ask you about this real quick because it's in your New York Post piece. The ideological indoctrination of children when it comes to sex education begins in kindergarten?
Oh, yeah. And this just isn't really. This is now in schools, public and private, and even religious schools across the country. They introduced a new sex ed curriculum. They call it the OWL, which is a very widely used curriculum. And it absolutely starts in kindergarten. And if you go to their website, you see, I mean, this is social justice oriented. That is the mission. They introduce gender ideology in kindergarten. They're introducing kids to pronouns and alternative lifestyles. This is starting when our kids are 5 years old, without question.
It's crazy. I mean, Clay,
yeah, I mean, I've got 3 kids. Do you think we're winning? Like, are you seeing since 2020 when you spoke out, do you think we're winning this, or are they just doubling down on the crazy?
They are doubling down. We are losing this, and we are losing this very, very badly. We woke up in 2020. A lot of parents said that joined the movement. They saw what their kids were learning on Zoom school. Again, different for us. We had to do mandatory training in this stuff. But, the entire K through 12 education system, as well as the universities, have been taken over by this ideology. And frankly, that's the reason I'm running for Congress. And it isn't even just in schools. This, woke, progressive, leftist, social justice ideology, whatever you want to call it, has, I believe, taken over nearly every institution of this country. And this is fundamentally a rejection of America's founding values, a rejection of free speech, of free markets and capitalism, of individual rights and meritocracy in favor of identity rights, of the idea of objectivity, that there is right and wrong, truth in the world, 2 biological sexes. And this is what has taken over, again, not just K through 12 education, but everything. We are losing. I don't think we've lost yet, and we need good people to step up and fight this battle and try to reclaim these values and take back these institutions. But it's not going to be quick.
Oh, go ahead, Clay.
No, I was just going to say, tell us about the district that you're running in.
Yeah, it is. I think I'm biased. Obviously, it is the most interesting congressional district in the country. It's all in Palm Beach County. Mar-a-Lago is in the district. Almost every big Republican donor has a house in the district. It is one of the only districts in the country, maybe the only, that is an active transition from blue to red. It had been considered a very safe Democratic district with a very long time entrenched, very, very progressive incumbent. And over the last 3 years, the data has changed dramatically of people like myself moving down from New York. Everyone was worried about us bringing, lefty politics down. It's been exactly the opposite. DeSantis won Palm Beach County when he won re-election in 2022. First time a Republican governor had won the county in almost 40 years. And we're seeing dramatically changing voter demographics in the district. And we're also seeing, this is also likely the most Jewish district in the country, and we're seeing very strong evidence of a post-October 7th Jewish realignment in the data. It's really, really interesting to see.
So this is a district that you are trying to flip from blue to red?
Correct.
What's your congressional website, Andrew?
Congressional website is andrewgutmann.com, 1T2N, Gutmann. You can read a lot more about me and the issues, my story. The Really letter is on there. But this is a district that is winnable for the first time, and we are getting enormous amount of traction, done very well fundraising, done very well getting the message out that this is a winnable district. And we all know how tight the House race is going to be in November 2024. This is a district that we can flip, and it'll have enormous impact nationally if we can do that.
No doubt. Andrew Gutmann trying to flip from blue to red in the Palm Beach area. Go check it out down in Florida. We appreciate you.
Yeah, no, thanks very much for having me on.